Hi class, today we are on section 7.3, day 5. This is factoring by using the GCF and by grouping. Last video we talked a little bit about factoring by grouping and how to group things that are given to us and how to pull them out front. Today we're going to be looking at factoring by grouping things that are not necessarily out front. We're going to have to factor and then also group them. Factor by grouping is very simple. It's grouping the terms in two sets of parentheses. We factor each pair by taking out the greatest common factor, and then we rewrite the greatest common factor and what is left as two binomials. So the first thing that we want to do, and we'll kind of look at this first example here, is we want to group these. So we want to group our first two terms, and then we also want to group our last two terms. And we do want to keep that plus with that AY. So what do the first two terms have in common? Well, if you look, they both have an x. So we write an x out front, and then we pull out, we leave what was left. So in this case, it's the a plus b. Our next set of parentheses, what do the a and b have in common? Well, they have a y. So it's plus y. And then we're going to factor that out, and then again, leave our a plus b. Now, in order to do this factor by grouping, what's in the parentheses must be the same. Again, in order to do this, what's in the parentheses must be the same. So in this case now, this is very similar to our examples that we did previously, where we pulled the y minus 1 out front. These both have a plus b, so we're going to pull out the a plus b out. And then we also have the x plus y. And there's our answer. Okay, let's go ahead and check out example 8 here. Again, first off, first thing we want to do is group. So what does the first group have in common? Well, y squared and y both have a y. So we're going to pull out a y out front. So I'll have y minus 1. You got to keep that placeholder there. And then notice this is negative 2y plus 2, but I have a minus here. And I have a plus here. I'm going to have to pull out the negative as well as the 2. So in this case, negative 2, which now changes my sign into y minus 1. So now again, I have the same thing inside of my parentheses. So I will pull that out front, y minus 1. In order to change signs, sometimes you do have to pull out a negative, and then I have y minus 2. Okay, let's get into something that might be a little more complicated, or might at least look a little bit more complicated, but it really isn't. First off, each one of these has a 2 in common. So before I do any heavy lifting with factor by grouping, I'm going to pull out the 2. In this case, I'll have x squared y minus 2 a squared y plus x squared z minus 2 a squared z. Now again, I'm looking to factor by grouping. So in this case, I have, it looks like a y in common, 2, and then y times x squared minus 2a squared. And then over here, it looks like I have z in common, so plus z times x squared minus 2a squared. So now I'm going to pull that out. I'll have x squared 2 times x squared minus 2a squared, and times y plus z. That'll be my final answer. So again, if you can, first, like we said at the very beginning, pull out the greatest common factor. What happens when something is turned around? If you notice here, x minus 1, got our problem, 2x times x minus 1 plus 4 times 1 minus x. 1 minus x and x minus 1 are very, very similar. Sometimes I have to rearrange and just pull out a negative. In this case, I have 2x times x minus 1 plus 4 times, and this is the same as saying negative x plus 1. So now I'm going to pull out the negative, 2x minus 1 minus 4 times x minus 1, which now gives me the same thing inside of each of these parentheses. So I will be left with x minus 1 times 2x minus 4. And now back to trying some problems on your own. Go ahead and try example number 11, pause the video, and then also try example number 12, pause the video, and then see what you get. Once you've been done pausing the video, we're going to factor by grouping here. We're going to group these. 12 and 28 both have 4, and then x and x, so 4x. And we're going to have 3y minus 7. And then I see a negative here. I'm going to pull out a negative. So I'm going to pull out a negative 5, and I'll have 3y minus 7. And really, if you get the first parenthesis, you'll notice the second parenthesis has to be the same, so it's a little bit easier that time around to see what you're looking for. And now I have 3y minus 7 times 4x minus 5. Now my very last problem that I have, again, I'm going to group. 8 and 12 both have 4 in common, and x squared and x, the lowest degree of that would be just an x. So I'm left with 2x minus 3. And then over here, if you notice, I have 2x minus 3 already. The lowest possible thing that I can get rid of from a 2x minus 3 is just 1. So in this case, now I have 1 times 2x minus 3. Both the insides are in common. And I have 2x minus 3 and 4x plus 1. And there's my final answer.